Welcome to Ignite Technology, where we'll create enriching videos and content on technology.
The basics of CSS and basics of HTML. I think it is time we took knowledge to a top-notch level by delving into CSS layouts and Flexbox. Talking about the different layout techniques we have in CSS and using Flexbox to arrange our elements as a pro. All right. We're going to still use this interface or the content for typography for this very video we are going to make. So let us go ahead now and add another file here. Let's name it layout, CSS. And when writing or naming your files where it has more than one name, do not add space. Instead, use underscore or hyphen. So either underscore CSS layout, hyphen underscore, and flexbox dot html. So it's good you know what this course is going to focus on. I would still like to copy all these things and paste it here. Then I'll create another CSS file, CSS underscore layout underscore and flexbox.css. In that case, it should be having the same name. It should be having the same name. Let me still copy what I have here into this CSS. At this point, I don't need this anymore. And for clarity of our HTML file, I would like we cut all we have in the internal CSS and bring it into the external CSS file. Are you following? So that we have only one CSS file, no longer internal, inline, and external. So in this case, I'm going to cut, I already cut it. I'm going to put it here. All right. I'll still take what I have in the inline. Let me link this CSS very well. CSS. CSS. All right. You could see that our file is still running on live server. On the live server, we are still having virtual in there. Okay. So let me quickly state this. In CSS layout technique, we have different ways that the elements of the HTML appear on the web page. First of all, we have block elements, we have inline elements. These are default, the way the elements appear by default, or we can still make them appear like that. There are elements that appear as block elements by default, and there are elements that appear as inline elements by default. For instance, when I used this anchor tag, let me add another anchor tag so that you see what I'm talking about as inline elements. This is an inline element. If I write login, it is going to be positioned by the side of the one you're seeing here. So it's expected to come here. Let me actually reload this on the live server. This is still as typography. So I'm going to reload this. Open live server. Still taking time to load. All right. You could see it has added here, home, about, contact, login. These are inline elements. However, suppose I use another way of writing is ULLI. And I put this LI here. You could see that LI now is a block element. Let me still add another LI. There are block elements in the sense that they do not allow another element to be placed by their side, despite the fact that it does not stretch till the end. Maybe if I add background color to it, you see how they stretch. Background, it is time. Just using inline to show what I'm talking about. Background color, red. You could see how it stretched to the extreme. You see how it stretched to the extreme. It's a block element unless I display it as inline. That is changing the default element. Okay, this is first part of the CSS the layout technique. Another CSS layout technique is positioning. We shall talk about positioning in the next video tutorial. Just pay rapt attention and hit the notification bell. For this video, we shall talk about another CSS layers technique, which is Flexbox. So we are going to use it in this header part so you see how we can arrange the web page to be more responsive and user-friendly than it is now. Okay, finally, I'm removing this too. Put it here. The background color is not necessary. Remember, I said we are going to use only external CSS for our work. Only external CSS for our work. So I'm going to remove these two. Any other external CSS, okay. Switch to. I'll also tell you about commenting in CSS, in HTML as well as CSS. There are ways you comment in CSS and there are ways you comment in HTML. In HTML, commenting is that it does not form the part of the web page that the user will see. Rather, whoever knows how to inspect a web page will go to your console and see what you wrote on the comment section. It is written as such. Whatever you write inside this is commented. It will not appear on the web page. It will not appear on the web page. The shortcut to get this is control slash, control forward slash, control forward slash. Once you write it, whatever you write inside it is commented. So proper way to do this, I'll write here um, name section. I'll come to this part, I will comment header section. Not like making my own to look like this header section. So going to the very external CSS file we have here, I would like to call the header. It has already been called, but then what I need to do now is to say display flex. If we see display block, how we can display it, display flex, display grid, display inline, inline block, inline flex box, and all this and all that. What I need here now is to display it as flex. And then you could see how it altered the arrangement. How it altered the arrangement. No problem. Let's keep going as we will see how the web page will unfold gradually. I do not need this border that I added. I did it at least I will comment it now. Remember, as I told you, the shortcut for commenting. And once you comment any line of your code, it will no longer form the part of the code that the user will see on the web page. So if I press control forward slash here, you no longer see the border. Okay, the border is still there, but it's black in color, which is the default color. I will still have to remove this one and remove this as well. So there's no more border at all. There's no more border. However, what I wrote in this thread line could also be written in one line as this border, just with the name border. Initially, I used them double red. I still achieved the same thing that was there before, written in one line. Apart from double, we also have dashed. Dashed. Apart from dashed, we also have dotted. Depending on how you want your web page to look like, if you want it to appear like this, it is left for you. Now, the next thing I would also want us to know is there are some default CSS properties that we would want to override. And we do that using what we call universal selector. Universal selector is asterisk, just a mark, asterisk. Once you call it, put the curly braces. Whatever you put inside it reflects on all other elements in your web page. For instance, I decide to say text decoration. Remember, there was the one I said text decoration on the line, which is this one you're seeing here. If I say text decoration and I say no, you would see that there will be no text decoration again for anchor tags that we are having on the line. Let me remove them again so you see it. Watch these anchor tags. They are underlined. But when I say none, it will be out. Another thing I would want us to override is this style, this styling. I would want it to be none. This one I'm seeing here. No more dotted line beside it. No more dotted line beside a list. That's very good. We are gradually getting there. Oftentimes, we decide to override the default color, default margin, default pattern by saying margin 0. You could see what will happen on the web page. It becomes clumsy. And if I also say padding 0, unless the ones I decide to add padding to them, if not, they will just be, modeled up like this. But it's left for you to decide the level of padding or margin you want to add to your web page and make it look as you want it to be. All right. So let's quickly delve into finishing up with this Flexbox on the header. Having called the header, now it's good to also make this clear. When you display a property flex, the flex action is seen on the direct children of that element. When I mean direct children is, I said the header displayed as flex. The children, the contents inside header were aligned on the horizontal axis, yes. So they align themselves on row, not columns, no longer as columns. What I would now want to do is to call header nav UL. Header nav UL. Just keep following. Header nav UL. I could decide to call this as UL only. But what if I have other UL, just like I have it in the main? If you check the content of the main, there is a UL here. So in this case, I want to call it and be sure that I'm calling the UL inside header and it is inside nav. So in this case, I will say header nav UL, put the curly braces, display flex. You could see the effect. These contents that are in block elements, these contents that are coming after another, under each other, would now be appearing side by side, would be appearing side by side. The old method of achieving this thing that I want to do now is float. You could say float right or float left. Float right or float left. In this case, I'm using flex. And flex makes it more dynamic and responsive. All right. So display flex. Watch it now. Very good. So what I need to do now that I need to add here is align items and make it center, justify content, also make it center. Or justify content, I don't want to center, I would say space around or space between. However, I'm not giving this a width so that it will fit into the width that's given to it. For instance, I decide to give this width of, let me say, 500 pixels. You see how it's stretched? Supposing I use percentage instead of pixels, I say 70%. However, I've not given the header itself width of 100%. 100%. And then we could say 100 VH or 100%. I should call header nav particularly and give it that width. Header nav You understand what's happened now? The header nav is the one inside header directly. And that's the one I gave the width of 70%. It then means that this one is taking 30%. It means it's taking 30%, but these ones are taking the remaining percentage, which is 70. Another property we could add when you display flex is gap. Gap, we could have row gap, column gap. So gap, maybe 10 pixels, we won't actually see it. Another one, since I displayed the header as flex, I will also say align item center so that all of them will be on the center. You can see that both the header and the content here are now on the same line. I hope you are following. I hope this is making more sense. I hope it is becoming much more dynamic for you. All right. Maybe if I maximize this page, you could see it all the more. But let me still reduce it so that you'll be seeing both the VS Code editor as well as the web page. All right. Wow, what really changed? Why is this not work? Having done that on the header session, what I would want us to do in that header session is to change the color of the anchor tag. Anchor tag comes with this default color. It comes with default color of blue and default underline. I've removed the underline. For me to remove this color, you would need to call the anchor tag directly. In this case, I'm gonna say header A, which is anchor tag, color, red, hash, FFF. Font weight, let's make it bold or use 700. Either use 700 or make it bold. And remember, there is this default style that when you hover on it, you see a pointer hand. The cursor is always pointer. That is what you also used to know that this is an anchor tag. Else, when you decide to put it on your own. Now, I want to add a hover effect on it. Header A is called pseudo selector. So to select an element, use this one period hover. When I hover on it, I want to see an underline text decoration. There should be underline. You can see it. When I hover on each one, there's underline. Maybe if I want background color when I hover on it, there will also be. Let me choose a darker part of this color. Padding, 10 pixels. Maybe that might be much. Let's make it five. Five pixels top and bottom, 8 pixels left and right. And I want to add a border radius to it so that there will be curved edges round. You can see it now. All right. That's done much. That's much done there. Going back to the web page, there are some of the things I do not need in the main section. So what I really need is to have two sections inside the main. I hope you were able to do the assignment I gave in the previous video. So in this case, I want to be seeing this section and then another section. I'm going to give it a class. Now, class is classification so that I'm not having two sections. When I want to call a particular session, I'm calling it with a class. So the shortcut for this is section.class. All right. Oh, section dot the name of the class you want to give it to. So section dot about. It will take the class H3 about us. Let me finish up with the first section. This one, I'm going to name it hero section. I'm going to name it class hero section. On the web page, the hero section is usually the first, that very first section you see when you open your web page in the main section. I would want us to have an image here as well as a text. So let the image be placed side by side the text. I want to cut this part and call it hero text. Dot hero text. See how I started naming it? So all these things are inside the hero text. Proper indentation is necessary. Then let's have another dot hero image. Dot hero image. I hope you are following. At this point, I want us to insert an image. That image will be used as the profile picture for this developer. Let's locate the image here. I'm going to use this summer. Going to be a very big one. All right, you can see how big it is. I'm going to reduce it. Bear in mind that I've removed the default margin and padding on this. Maybe because I showed you. I also show you how to add them. So when you call main H2 as it is here, you could add padding. You can padding top and bottom of about 2 rel. You could see it. So maybe that would be too much. Let me just remove. Let's see. So let me remove the default matching and padding. Let me still leave it. So let me connect this one. And then we'll do aspect. Yeah. All right. So right. Actually, wait. Why does this change? Anyway, Let's still go on. Um, I want us to call the hero section, which is this section you're seeing here, call hero section, display flex. But before that, let me call the hero hero image, give it a root, dot hero section inside the main, alright, dot hero section. Another thing I want us to add in the universal selector is box sizing, border box, to make sure that each element is contained in each box. Because in HTML, we talk about box model, just like in CSS, we're talking about CSS layouts. Every block element, every element on your web page is like a box. It's like a box. How you know that it's a box is when I go to the universal selector and then add border. Let me say, I try to say 2 pixel solid red. You will see it appear. You see how this is a box, this is a box, this is a box, this is a box. So every element on the web page, every tag is a box of its own. Okay? So there is no, I'll just have to comment that line. I just wanted to show you. Since I commented it is off. So the next thing we will do now is to call the hero session. I give it a width of 100 view width or 100%, whichever one works best. Now the next thing I will display it as flex. Display it as flex. This is the way it appears on the web page. But I'll have to reduce this image and then make the image much more appealing. So dot hero image. We're gradually coming to the end of this page, and I would want you to replicate this work that we are doing now. So that hero image, let's give it a width of about uh, call it 400 pixels. Then we'll have to call the hero image inside the image inside this hero image. So dot hero image img width. Let's make the width 100%. You see the image you reduce. It reduced as this because the box holding it has been reduced to 400 pixels. Let's try making this percentage as 30%. That's smaller. 500 pixels. And then we'll make it about objects fit, confirm, border reduce 50%, then reduce not border 25, 35. Okay, still 50 is good. Giving us what we want, placing the image side by side in place. Another is creating a box, different boxes. Inside this about us section, whereby we have um the just name this game. Run. I want to name this more and more so that you see what this box model does. You decide to click it this way. I want to call this and make sure I place all of them inside the name about category. All I need to do is to align this the way I want. I'll have to call the about category and display it as flex. So let's quickly do that. First of all, I will call category. Need to add dots to show it is a class. Category, box shadow, pixels, 6 pixels, 12 pixels, 0, 0, 0, 0, 86. One. Okay. This is it you're seeing here. Will not be that very clear or obvious. Padding, 10 pixels. Border ridges, 10 pixels. Main H2, H3. Starting with red. Good. At this point, I'll just call the about category here and display it as flex and add other things you need to know about Flexbox so that they will wrap around themselves. And that is here, dot about category. Make sure you call exactly what you saved it, the class name you saved it with. So display flex. All I have to do now is to say flex wrap. Right. It will just wrap around themselves. And when I resize this page, when I resize it as this, you'll be seeing all the contents. Everything is showing. The content of the page is showing. And when you increase it, you see how it is. This is not allowing other ones to come beside it because I'm not giving this a name. And that's what I'm going to do now. So that you see it. Category itself should have a width of about 350 pixels. See it. I need to put a gap of about 10 pixels here. Maybe this box shadow is not obvious. Let me use TD. It's now more obvious. Lastly, what I would like to add here is dot category, a hover style. When you hover on it, there should be a movement. There should be a movement. Let me say translate. Y minus 10 pixels. When you hover on it, I could also make the cursor to be pointer. So when I hover on it, the cursor changes to hand this way. Isn't that appealing to you? All right. Meanwhile, okay, let me align the items to be on the center. Align items, center. Justify content. Justify content. Should be space. Let's use space evenly and you see how it appears. This is space evenly. They are to space evenly across the page, across the section where they find themselves. You can see it. I can also add row gap to increase the gap between this box and this box below. the column gap is maintained already, but the row gap is not given. All right. So this is a sample of a portfolio website that has the picture of the person, the picture, profile picture, and the letter write-up of the user or the developer on the side, on this side. And we use Flexbox to arrange it so that they will appear side by side and will be responsive and user friendly. All right. More about this course, more about this video, we shall use media query to make it also more responsive and more dynamic. But for the next video, which I will enjoin you to watch, we shall be talking about positioning using CSS. It's an attribute that also fits in within CSS layout technique. All right. Thank you for your rapt attention. As I encourage you to hit the notification bell, subscribe for more videos. Let me also add this on the universal selector. Transition. Let me use this on 0.5 seconds. Easy out. This will make it the movement to be with ease. The movement to move with ease. For instance, when I hover on this, you could see the movement no longer as fast as it was. Thank you for paying attention even to this point. Ciao.